Hello, motivators. We're excited today for Motivators podcast with my hosts, Emily McCullough and Christy Evenko from Motivity. And we have a special guest today, Morgan Van Diepen from ABA Visualized. Hey, Morgan.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you so much for your time. So, Morgan, if you guys haven't heard of ABA Visualized, I would right away Google ABA Visualized and look at it because it's very visual and you want to be able to see what it is.
Hence the visualized, but yeah.
um, but when I first saw ABA Visualized, Morgan, I think it was Instagram, which is a perfect medium for being able to see this because Instagram is pictures and it's very visual. And I was just fascinated, and I right away was like, "What is this?" Because I remember I come from a background of teaching and training from the technology standpoint, and there were so many times where I was like trying to make visuals of how to teach certain principles of the science, and it was just like, I can't do this. I don't have this talent. But I saw what Morgan and her team are putting together and was like, this is what this field has needed for so long. So what I'd like to do is turn the time over to Morgan for her to talk about, like, tell us the story about how you started ABA Visualize, you and your husband's collaboration, and what kind of sparked this idea and kind of where you are today.
All right, thanks. My husband always loves this part because he's not in the field of ABA or education at all, but all of this was his idea. And so
Wow.
I, this was six or 7 years ago. And I was a supervisor. I think I was accruing my hours to become a BCBA. I was like right on the cusp, and you come home from work, and my husband, Bao is his name, he was like, what do you do at your job? And I'm like, it's a session. I was going and doing a lot of family services, and I'm coaching the parents when the kids throw the toys. Here's what you do. And I was kind of giving like a general description of like what ABA therapy can look like. And he was like, no, but really, like, okay, so the child's throwing a toy. What do you do? And I was like, okay, he's like really asking a lot of details. But I was like I said, really excited. I'm just about to become a BCBA. I'm like, I can tell you like all this expertise, knowledge I have. And he realized in that conversation that everything I was saying when he was like suggesting a scenario, like, okay, well, what do you do if they stop throwing their toys? What do you do if they keep throwing their toys? And everything I was saying ended up being a flow chart. And so that's because his background is in infographics. So he studied graphic design. He's from Amsterdam, went to school there, and has like a specialty in infographics. Really talented. He worked for the newspaper there, but his whole expertise is in taking complex information and turning it into step by step visuals. But this conversation happened over days because I was like, there's no way that I'm a clinical expert. I have a master's degree. I've been in this field for like at the 10 years, and I have so much expertise. There's no way that our concepts can be broken down so simple into just a few steps. It just seemed, the way that I was learning about ABA, it seemed so much more complicated. And we kept doing it, and I was like, for sure it's not going to work. I would do like behavior momentum and sketch it out, and it was step by step. And then I'm like, okay, what about writing choices? What about differential reinforcement and all of these concepts? And it ended up that every single thing that we are doing is just simple step by step instructions. And he was saying, why has this never been visualized before? Everything that we're learning is taught through, of course, research articles, but then there is some sort of like, then we have textbooks. Everything was so dry and heavy and jargon that it was just, even for somebody going in this field, it's still overwhelming. And I think what you were describing, Emily, is now that we have that expertise, then it was our job to figure out, how do we disseminate this information on our own to somebody who has never read these articles, is not interested in becoming a behavior expert themselves. They just want to know, what do I do when my kids throw the toys at me? And so that really started it. That's when we started sketching out the images for our first book, our ABA Visualized guidebook. We published in 2019. And we actually, on the cover of it, says for parents and teachers, our first edition, because we really saw the need for more approachable resources for the people who are actually seeking out behavior support and wanting to know how to do these strategies in their homes. So that's always been our mission from the beginning, is to make behavior expertise more approachable through visuals. Since then, we have self-published like a whole collection of books. We did a collaboration with the AAC expert for AAC Visualized for the nonverbal or limited language learners. I learned so much during that project. We just this last summer published a book called Behavior Essentials Visualized, and that one's specifically for teachers and classroom and school-based professionals. And then this last summer, I'm really excited because the first time we went into tech and we launched an online platform called BIP Visualized.
Yeah, that's so exciting. So I want to go back a little bit to your first book.
Yeah.
If anybody hasn't had a chance to look at this book, take a look at it, because it's more than just a picture book of principles of behavior. It has, like, basically we are taught to teach our students and our clients in a way that's accessible and broken down, that's understandable for them. And a lot of times that's visuals. But then when we go and we learn about the field from all of our different backgrounds and languages and perspectives, we, like you said, we have to like analyze a lot of words and research studies that are sometimes hard to translate over to the actual applications. And this book beautifully not only takes the visuals, but it also reframes the language. So it's using accessible language as well. So what I like, for example, behavior momentum is such an impactful strategy when you're teaching, but sometimes it's not an accessible way of talking about it. And so you've kind of created these like phrases like easy, easy, hard, right? And then you break it out into this like accessible flowchart. So I guess, can you tell me a little bit more about that first book and how that first book then turned into what you're doing now?
Yes. So the first book I'm calling is the first edition, and I'll show you for those that have the video. Here's the easy, easy, hard strategy, just so you can see. It's just step by step, and we've illustrated a scenario. This scenario is a dad trying to get his son to clean up all the toys in his room. So instead of just saying clean up all of your toys, which would be the hard instruction, you create two easier instructions first, and it's illustrated. The dad saying, show me your new book. And then the son listens, he shows the book. The dad says, so cool, now go put it away in a safe spot. So he listens. It's an easy instruction, but he's already started cleaning up. That's the concept, the science behind it. You're already getting this momentum of following the instructions. And the dad says, nice listening, now put away the rest of your toys. And he's like cheering him on as he cleans up everything. And so it's all step by step. We've tried to pick relatable scenarios. Our guidebook has scenarios that are school and home-based and community-based. So this is like our go-to for anyone who is just trying to either learn more behavior expertise for themselves, for their families, for their classroom. But actually, it turns out our biggest customer is the behavior experts, the BCBAs themselves, using it, just like you're saying, Emily, as a tool to help them teach these strategies more approachable. But we published the second edition last year because, like I said, the first one came out in 2019. Our field is always moving forward. We are a field of science. We have taken a lot of feedback from the neurodiverse population, and we're really proud to have collaborated. We have several different neurodivergent collaborators that we work with on our projects. And so the second edition, if you didn't upgrade, I would definitely recommend, because we did like cover to cover update with like current best practices, compassionate care approach. And you can definitely see that like the strength-based language throughout. So it's just more updated to make sure you're doing all of the strategies in the most compassionate, ethical way.
The
So
example, I'm
yeah,
sorry, the example you gave though is not specific to a disability or anything that you would think of.
exactly.
Maybe it's just like that's just parenting, and I love that in terms of behavior. I mean, behavior happens. Behavior is everything or something that a person does, and behavioral science affects people just like gravity affects people. We don't have people with autism flying, and the rest of us gravity affects. And same thing with behavior. Like the science of behavior affects everyone. So I like that the examples are not really about somebody with a disability. Is that just the one example that you showed, or really throughout? It's just
Throughout, we're just trying to make it very relatable. So also from the very beginning, all of our illustrations have it's been really important for us to show like an inclusiveness in terms of what family dynamics look like, what the characters look like, so that people see this and they feel like this could be my
that
family.
could be for you.
Um,
Yeah.
in our second edition book, and also in the AAC Visualized book, we do have we made an effort to have more illustrations, even more inclusive, and some that are more clear. Like this is a person with Down syndrome, since they have more noticeable features. So we wanted to illustrate that. We have sometimes some kids like stimming or spinning around, illustrated, but in a way that's just meant to be representative of the populations that we do often support, but the strategies are not diagnostic specific. In fact, now that my husband is now learning more about ABA concepts, he's like, hey, stop doing priming on me. He can like catch them. So it's they're just strategies meant to support with a lot of common challenges like transitions, like following those essential instructions, sharing toys. So we're just more thinking about what are common scenarios that families and teachers need support with, and illustrating how our evidence-based strategies can support those.
I love that. I think one of my favorite pages that I saw is the table that directs you towards the interventions based on function.
Yes, I can show it for those that are watching. So this is called oh my gosh, I always say this word wrong. It's a Sankey chart, but I'm probably saying it wrong. So anyone that's listening that has the design background, so it's the chart that basically I think it's so beautiful as well. So on the left side, it has here we have two different ones. This one is by target skill. We have another page that's by function of behavior. So here the skills would be like, I want to prevent challenging behaviors, or like I want to know how to support during challenging behaviors, or I want to build independence. And then you follow, and it suggests the different strategies for you. But we have the same thing visualized based on the function of the behavior. So it has the functions, and then you follow the lines, and it recommends the strategy to go to in the book.
Do you help? And I'm sorry, I haven't seen the book like Emily has, so
Yeah.
I'm going to ask some neophyte questions. But do you talk about kind of how you find the function?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so you start with that. Okay. Because that's
Yeah.
what I was thinking. I'm like, we're talking a lot about strategies here, and this strategy may work depending on what the function of the behavior is. Otherwise, the strategy is not going to work. And I think that's almost where behavior analysts are necessary, or is because everybody can kind of follow the strategies, but if you don't know the function, you might do the opposite,
Yeah. So
what
we
you're
did
trying to do.
in the introduction section of all of our books, if you want to go a little bit more in depth and learn about the what is ABA therapy, again, we mentioned this book is not specific for people who are getting ABA therapy. This book is not
Right.
specific
It's
for
about behavior. Yeah.
having a diagnosis or not, but we do have some of that background information, because a lot of times the people who are using our books are either learning that themselves or wanting to teach somebody how to do some of those more like foundational concepts or skills. So we do have some like activities that explain functions of behavior. For me, one of the pages I actually really like relating to that, this was really hard to think about, but we thought about what is a scenario where one behavior can be happening, one scenario could be happening for four different functions or
Mm-hmm.
reasons. And then we wrote down clues. And so actually in the new book, the one that's for teachers, it's a student pacing around the classroom. And so then we have an
Right, that could be
illustration.
lots of function. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So then it's like, okay, well, it's like a teen boy. Like, is he going, he's pacing, and now he's like over here, now he can like secretly be on his cell phone? Or is he pacing and he's like talking to students while he's doing it, or other kids are like looking at him or laughing
Is
at
he
him?
getting away from his work, or is he? Yeah.
Yep. Is it right when the teacher said get started, he got up? Or is it something that he's listening, to the teacher, even though he's not sitting,
Right.
attending, facing the teacher, but he's still participating, even though he's pacing? Then it could be sensory. So then we have little checklists of like, here's clues to look for to help you determine. But it's not just apparent just from what the behavior itself. You have to look for
Right.
the clues. Yeah.
I
That's
love that.
wonderful.
And I also think that it's probably helping more that teachers and behavior analysts identify additional strategies that they might not have thought of to use
Yeah.
with that flow chart. Like, for example, there's like the check-in, check-out
Mm-hmm.
procedure that's broken out, and some people might not have even heard of that because it's very, I think it's a very
Yeah.
school-focused intervention, and
Yeah.
so behavior analysts that are not necessarily in schools might not have even tried something like that. And so, or break tickets, I saw that's
Yeah.
in there too, and some people might not know what that is. Um, so I think that also opens the the interventionist's eyes to different strategies, especially because if you had two different behavior analysts watching and observing the same kid, those two different behavior analysts are going to come up with completely different behavior intervention plans.
Absolutely. But I think that's like a beautiful thing. And that's why I hate when people are doing copying and pasting or
Oh,
templates, because
yeah.
like for me, this is like the most creative part of the job. And what I love so much about being in the field is like you're such a problem solver, and so then you're like, I'm seeing the situation and what creative ideas do I have that we can try. And it's okay if I put it together and it doesn't work the first time. Like, that's okay. It's like, how can I take that feedback and adjust? And I think that that's a really fun part, to get inspiration for new ideas on how to support
Well,
our learners.
yeah, that brings up like a really good point. I mean, the part of it is the data collection and the analysis of the data, and of course, we're taught to visually analyze data. So that brings. Do you talk about that as well, where you're like, all right, let's find out if like you can come up with a perfect plan, but you don't know what it is. Is it is until you find out, does it work? And how do we know, does it work? Well, we take data and we figure out if the behavior has changed. Is that something
Yeah.
that you discuss
I
as well?
will say it's in the book in the introduction section, like what is makes ABA unique, and it is that it's all database. We're looking to see, we're trying things to see if it works. It's okay if our first plan doesn't work. We need to collaborate with the team and come
We
up with.
learned something from that. Yeah.
And so we talk about it there. But our goal is not for parents and teachers to become BCBAs or even RBTs. So I don't even teach a lot of families I work with the functions of the behavior. I don't even teach it at all. They don't. If it's a transition, then I'm like, here's your behavior plan for transitions. I don't say, here's your behavior plan for escape function. And actually, that brings me to some of the developmental ideas that we put into BIP Visualize. That's a really good bridge. So
Yeah, I'd love
we
to
create we
hear more
created
about. Yeah,
yeah.
I'd love to hear more about BIP to generalize. It's a good segue.
Yeah. So we've gotten a lot of good feedback from our books, which it just makes us, my husband and I, it just really makes us so proud that that what we're doing is resonating. It's helping people. It's helping people we don't even know. So that's something that we're both really proud of. And we wanted to think about how can we allow people more independence in creating their own visuals, creating. We have the strategies, but a behavior plan is like a curated collection of strategies. And so, how can people use our visuals to better support their individual clients and students? And so, with BIP Visualized, you can drag and drop our different strategies into a template to build its online program. You drag and drop the strategies, and then it builds a visual behavior plan. And the team can click on each strategy, and then the whole strategy, step-by-step strategy, opens up. But that was the idea from the beginning. But in order to really think about the details of how should this work the best. We spent 6 months interviewing and surveying hundreds of BCBAs, parents, teachers, people who were like brand new in the field of ABA, like, you know, the brand new like BTs, and got a lot of really interesting feedback that led to the way that we developed it. So one of the things that kept coming up a lot from the people who are responsible for implementing the plan, the stakeholders and our behavior staff, was that when they're getting a behavior plan, it's usually pages, like a Word document printed out, like multiple pages, and it's like bullet point lists. And
Yep.
we actually, I counted all of the strategies on all the behavior plans that we got as part of this like pilot study, and the average was 26 strategies on a behavior intervention plan. And then when
Wow.
I asked the teams, how many can you remember? What would you guess? I'm curious. How many do you think?
3.
Christy, you
Yeah.
got it. Three was the average number that they could
3.
remember. Yeah.
Wow.
And so the other thing that we heard from them was that they were thinking that it was like kind of like a list of suggestions, and not really understanding I'm supposed to do this strategy all the time, or when do I do it. It seems very overwhelming to say do 26 strategies all the time. You know, you both shared that you're parents. I'm like, imagine, and maybe this even happened to you, someone saying, here's 26 evidence-based strategies, just seamlessly fit them into your day. It's so overwhelming, and then it leads to, like, of course you're not going to do it or do it perfectly, and then the BCBAs feel frustrated that nobody's following their plan. And so on BAP Visualized, at the top of each page it says when to do this plan, and then you fill in what is the most challenging situation. Is it transitioning from outside to inside? Is it when it's an unstructured free time? Is it when you're sharing toys with peers? And that is when we really want to focus in on these strategies. And that's why we also visualized the 4 sections of the behavior plan: the prevent, teach, respond with reinforcement, and respond with behavior support, as they're connected. There's arrows connecting them. So it ends up looking like a step by step plan.
That's amazing. I can imagine how, like, as a clinician, as somebody who was working one-on-one frontline for years, having a tool like that to really help me understand. Because I feel like sometimes behavior analysts, we have so many strategies that we kind of like throw the kitchen sink
Yeah.
in the behavior plan.
And then hope it comes back in the data,
And
maybe.
then,
Yeah.
yeah. uh,
Yeah.
that's really, that's
We,
really
I
amazing.
once worked, I used to work as a therapeutic consultation provider, and I had a client who, the problem was the mother, when the client went into kind of crisis, the mother couldn't focus anymore because we were in crisis. And so I did just what you said. I built a visual plan. I'm like, if this happens, then do this. Then is this happening? Then do this. Because we could talk about that all day long ahead of time. And yeah, I understand that. But when you get into that moment,
Mhm.
you can't, you're not thinking, what is the strategy here? Am I reinforcing this behavior that I don't want to reinforce? You need just something that just tells you, do this.
Mhm.
And then it's almost like what doctors do, or what, in that they're so used to like going into that mode of crisis, that their hands just kind of automatically do it. So I don't know. I think
Yeah,
this is
look at
a
you.
great
You're like ABA visualized in your brain when you didn't even know it. The step
know
by
it.
step. But
This was years ago. We should have collaborated. No, it's good.
that's exactly right. And so there's, we're not the first people to understand that visuals help people. There's so much data showing that visuals help with initial understanding, retention, being able to recall, the confidence, feeling prepared. So now, exactly like you're saying, I know when I do the preventative strategy, I say, it's time for bed. I already know, okay, if they listen right away, how am I going to praise them and celebrate that? And if they don't, I already know how to respond, and I can visually see the red arrow going this way and the green arrow going this way in the visual representation of what I should do. So I don't have all the numbers in front of me, but we did see that this really helped the behavior staff and the parents and teachers. Their confidence went up, them feeling prepared to manage challenging situations went up. And one other piece that I was surprised to find out about was how many BCBAs are silently struggling. And 1/3 of BCBAs are in their first year. And you are oftentimes thrown into a role where you're just all of a sudden independent in everything. And what we heard a lot was that people do not feel confident writing, developing behavior plans and behavior recommendations independently, but they feel nervous to ask because they're like, I'm a BCBA. This is like an essential part of my job. I should feel good. I should feel like I can do this. So we added in features, like we have a search feature where you can search for like aggression or transitions or escape, and recommended strategies will come up. We have a huge collection of resources that can help you. How do I choose a replacement behavior? How do I write behavior goals? How do I coach parents on this, to really help BCBAs have that access to being able to be more independent, and hopefully build that confidence. That was something that was, yeah, it made me a little sad to see how many of people in our field were
We've
reporting.
got to stop thinking about the BCBA as a terminal certification. It's not. It's the
Yeah,
beginning of your journey. It is not the end.
that's a great point.
And luckily, or now that there are more BCBAs out there, the BACB has made it so that you have to have more experience before you supervise. It used to be that there just weren't enough of us to do that. It was really hard to get a supervisor, and now that it's just, and we've got to normalize asking for help and getting a mentor. And I don't know. That's great that you're offering kind of those skills for people, and then the effort is a little bit less in terms of having to, you don't have to say, okay, I don't know what I'm talking about. Can you help me? You can find these tools online and do it more in a private
Exactly. Like
manner.
that reassurance. You're absolutely right, Christy. I saw an article that they surveyed like 700 or 800 BCBAs, and 72% are currently feeling like medium or high levels of burnout.
Oh
And I was
yeah,
like, that's like
sure,
everybody. That's so.
sure.
So it's, just
Yeah,
little solutions like this that we're really creating it with the
to
mindset of like,
make it
how can we
easy.
help people feel more confident in creating a high quality plan? And then how can we help the teams be able to have that approachability? One of the other features is when you drag and drop. I can share my screen just to show when you drag and
Yeah,
drop
Yeah,
I think it would be
strategy.
really,
yeah, that would
really
be lovely.
impactful to do that.
And then
Let me go
I'll
ahead
explain.
and hide our pictures so that you can share your screen.
Yeah. For those of
Okay,
you who are listening, we'll
I'll
describe.
walk you through it. Can you
That's,
see it?
yes,
The
we
Yeah.
can. I'm not able to hide us, but we can. Yeah, we can see
Okay.
it. That's great.
So this is my behavior plans. These are all my behavior plans. I can show you one that's finished. Oh,
Oh,
no,
we're
I
not.
it's because
Technology.
right, no, the reason is because it's HIPAA compliant, and so when I stop sharing because I'm gonna log in. Yeah.
Yeah, you're stopped sharing.
Okay.
Yeah,
It logs out within if you're not attending to it, it will automatically log you out. That
but
was
you're not showing us any PHI. You're showing us a sample.
Yeah, exactly. It's a sample. Okay, so let me
Put
log
that
back
on
in.
the record. We're all being HIPAA compliant.
Yes. Okay. So now I'm in. So this is a finished behavior plan, just so you can see at the top. So it says sample BAP for aggression, and then when to implement. Proactive strategies should be in place during transitions, loud environments, and challenging tasks. And then you can see here's what are we teaching? What's our replacement behavior for this learner? It's self-regulation, and then I have 3 preventative strategies, and then you follow the green arrows. So when I do the preventative strategies and they're successful, here's how I'm going to reinforce them. And then if I follow the red arrow, like even though I set them up for success, I have for this learner, it's an escalation plan, and then I have rebuilding rapport. But the one piece I wanted to show you here, let's say I'm still working on this behavior plan. I wanted to drag and drop in this preventative strategy that we called a better way to say no. This one is one that probably people haven't heard of that much. I found this really cool article and we visualized it. It's really helpful for learners who struggle with accepting no and wait.
Yeah.
And you can see when I drag and drop in the strategy, I've written an approachable language description with fill in the blanks. So you need to individualize it, but it gives you a head start. So that's meant to help with the confidence piece, that you're not just staring at like a blank Word document and needing to write a behavior recommendation.
Can
So
you change
you
the title too? Can you edit both parts of it?
you can change
Oh,
the title. You can also
awesome.
delete this whole
Very
thing if you don't
cool.
like it.
Yeah.
Or if your family that you're working with is a like non-native English speaker, you could of course like copy and paste from like Google Translate and put it in. We do have Spanish strategies.
What
Strategies.
about the picture? Is that also changeable?
So it's next at the beginning of next year. That's what we're working on
Next
right
year.
now.
Okay.
Yep.
Who
So
draws these?
yeah, so when you click on it, you see the full step-by-step strategy. These are the same strategies in our,
Very cool.
except we're now on VIP Visualized, we're releasing more and more. So now there's even more strategies here. But what we're working on right now is that this will also be completely customizable. So you could take the picture. So in this one, this little boy is asking for ice cream. But if your client is like asking, can I get on iPad, that you could change the illustrations, you could take real pictures, you can change all the text. So that's going
Ooh,
to be
real
customizable.
pictures. That's really cool.
Yeah, I think that'd be helpful for like visual schedules or something like that, where
Yeah,
you want to
yeah.
take a picture of the actual resource you're using. Yeah,
Especially
so
for a
this,
child who doesn't generalize well to the example, or it's the wrong race, or that, it doesn't meet
yeah,
requirements.
exactly. Yeah, so here just to show you, that's where you can on the descriptions,
Very
we've
cool.
written it in a way that it's like the foundation is there, but you need to individualize it, and so that way it's making the people developing the plans feel confident, like okay, this I'm just describing this correctly in an approachable way, but I have still individualized it for my specific learner. So
Cool.
yeah, that's the program. I'll stop sharing, and then the if you wanted to, you can email it, share it with your team. That, like I said, it's HIPAA compliant. They can get in and they can access it and click around and see it, or you can print it out into a book. And so here, it's like Morgan's behavior plan, and then I have like a little about me page. Like what that's pretty standard.
Is
Like
this
what
a
are
plan that your husband wrote for you?
I wrote it for myself.
Oh, you wrote it for yourself.
Yeah, my teaching strategy is self calming.
Nice.
So here's my visual behavior plan. So it's the same as on that the main page that we just showed you. But then of course you can't click on the strategies to expand them. But when you print, every strategy is printed
They
out
come out.
visually.
That's
So
great.
it's basically like a mini version of our guidebook, but just the strategies that you want your team to learn. And then I also added in the back, like I was saying, we have a lot of visual resources. So you can just add those, print them in the back if you do have like a visual schedule or something.
Yeah.
That way, the team has everything that they need going into like their session, or the families have one. We heard one dad. We made it during our pilot study. We custom made these for the families who are testing it out. And I was talking with the parents, and the mom was like, she's like, I started crying because he all of a sudden was like using priming and like setting a timer. She said, we've had ABA services for 5 years and he's never been participatory in it, which sometimes that happens with just different family dynamics. And the dad said that he brought the book that we made to work and he was like flipping through it between meetings. And so then he was like, I really feel like I understand it now.
I can do it. Yeah.
Because not every parent is available for that, like the parent coaching and something like this, visuals, you can kind of just flip through and learn it yourself.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Well, it was so neat to hear about your work and your journey, and I'm so excited to see the continued work that you and your husband, was it Bao, you said?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Bao?
Yeah.
So, and thank you for coming on today to share more. We really love at Motivity to highlight groups that are helping our field, especially all of the new clinicians in the field, because I think, like you said, there's such a high rate of burnout, and we just need everyone. We need every behavior analyst.
Yeah.
Um, so, thanks again.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was great talking with you both.
Thank you.
Bye bye.